Right, good evening everyone. A few people have said to me of late, you don't seem to be posting as much as you normally do. The only reason why is because the content that I'm trying to do, when I do it, I'm trying to make it good. You with me? So you can just see in the rad, and this is all going to be explained now. If you look at that, now I've tried buying some springs of late, and although I've managed to find some really small ones, they're just simply not correct for what I'm trying to do. So I've actually bought myself some sprung wire and just coiled this up myself, and this has worked out a treat. So you've probably sussed it by now. I'm actually going to attempt to try and make a radiator cap correctly that is sprung. So when I push it down into the housing of the radiator, I'm hoping to be able to push it and twist it in. That's what I'm hoping to do. Now that's the receiver that I've made. It's all a little bit in its infancy right now. It's a bit crude where I've been holding it. But that will be the receiver that will go into the top of the header tank, into there. This, I think, is the correct tension of spring. While I'm trying to do it, it will go in and out of focus, but you can see where I'm going with this, can't you? That, I think, will be correct. The diameter of this just couldn't be any better for me, because this is working out, yeah, 1.3 millimeters, which is absolutely spot on for what I need it to be. So I'll keep you informed as I go next week with this, because this really is a proper challenge. Because for me to make this work, it's fundamentally something like that. But I've got to weld a little tiny washer on the end of that spring that will allow it to go down inside that tube to meet that blanking off tube that's on the inside of there. At the top of the spring has got to be attached to the top of the radiator cap housing. Somehow I've got to weld that spring into the top of the radiator housing for that to be able to go down into there. This phrase here, this thing here, this is called a drill. Not a phrase, it's a drill. It couldn't work out better for me to explain it to you, but can you see what I mean? Look, that's what I'm hoping to be able to do. But I've got to weld, like I say, the washer at the bottom of the spring. I've got to weld a washer at the top of the spring, and then attach that to the top of the housing, and then work out depths and diameter, depths purely for it all to be able to fit in. Now this spring at the moment is way too long. Way too long. So I reckon, what have you got there? You've got 1, 2, 3, you've got 5 coils there. I reckon it'll end up being 3 coil. Well, it could be 4 actually. Yeah, it could be 4. It could be end up being that length there, like that. But then at the end of the coil, where that's coming around and ending a bit vague there, whoops, that has to be squeezed onto that one to make it flat, just like the spring on your suspension. It's the same thing. And then hopefully I'm going to be able to achieve something. Well, that's where we are tonight. This is why I haven't been posting so much, because I can't tell you how many hours are in that radiator to get that like that, to get the header tank like that, to be able to make the receiver like it is here, and then the cap itself, and to be able to have the twist action. It's all hours and hours and hours, and that's all it is. But this has got to be one of the, it's got to be up there with one of the smallest radiator caps I know of. I mean, what's the diameter of this as an overall thing? $3mm. It's not too terrible, is it? Right, in the meantime, I've got to carefully put all this away, because if I lose this spring, I'm not going to be an happy chap, because it's been so long-winded trying to make it. So that's all going to go in here tonight. That way, I know where I am for Monday morning. Have a good weekend, you lot. Good evening.